Kids, today what I'd like to talk about is three things that we're going to divide into three separate videos. The first is going to be on presentation, and that's retouching your print so that when people look at it, it looks perfectly clean with no visual noise, no little dust and things like that. And then the next video we're going to do is on the exhibition part, where you either dry mount your photograph, or in another video we'll talk about cutting a mat for your photographs. So all this is in preparation of taking your photograph and exhibiting it in a competition, or framing it up for hanging it on a wall, or maybe giving a gift, or for yourself. So I did put up two photographs. In this photograph here, you see signs of watermarks. You can see it right here, and you can see it here, and you can see it here. Now, watermarks are caused by when your film is drying and there's stuff in the water and you haven't used photo flow or a wetting agent, you'll sometimes get these little watermarks, and they're really hard to get off. You can try film cleaner, and I just put a little bit on a cloth. This is a cotton glove, and I just put a little on, and then I wipe the surface of the film a couple times. Usually it's the glossy side of the film, and that's, if it's going to work, it'll pick up these little white marks. Usually it doesn't work. So then what you need to do is take the negative, if it's an important one, and re-soak it in distilled water with a little photo flow in it for about 5 minutes, and then hang to dry. So it's kind of a pain. So it's better if, when you're developing your film, as we mentioned in our film development section, that you take your film and always treat it with photo flow, usually with distilled water, before you hang to dry. Then you won't get these little watermarks. This little guy here, and then this guy here, and then here's a nice one in here. So these are, again, almost impossible to retouch. Now in our next photograph, which I'll demonstrate retouching, this is a pretty clean print of a church. And I do notice right here, and we'll see a close-up of that, whoops. Right here on the face of the church is a little dot, and right here on the roof here is a little dot. Now, it's no big deal, but I call this visual noise. And most people maybe just ignore this, but if you're looking at a photograph critically, it really stands out. So what we need to do in retouching is to actually use a dye that sinks into the surface of the paper and will camouflage or hide these little white specks. And these white specks, by the way, are caused by dust. These little specks can sometimes be brushed off the negative before you print, using either film cleaner or a little Static Master brush like this to dust the film right before you put it in the enlarger. And the idea of the Static Master is that it keeps static from being on the film, and then dust won't adhere to it, like sort of like a magnet. Let's take this photograph now, and I'll show you how to retouch these little dust marks. I'll just tape this down, and don't have to do this, but we'll get a little more tape here. And so here's some of the things that I've gotten together. First, we're going to use a product called Spot Tone. Now there are other products, but Spot Tone is one that I'm familiar with that allows you to put a little dye on the print that camouflages the white marks. So usually Spot Tone, at least it used to come in 3 bottles. One is a bottle number 3, which is a neutral black, and that's what we're using today because this is a neutral color. And then here's bottle number 0. This is for sort of your warm colored images. And then here's bottle number 1, which is a blue-black, and that's for cold tone. And of course you can mix these. So any paper color that you have can be obtained, you can get your Spot Tone to match that color by mixing these with little drops. Instructions come with these kits. And what I've done is I've taken the bottle number 3, which I usually use, and I poured this into this little dish, and then the spot tone has dried. So now it's like a watercolor. So I always use it in this form. Don't use it when it's wet because it isn't going to work. So I'll put these aside here. And now here's my little brush box. I have a number of little brushes here. Here's another one right here. Actually, all these are fairly bad. You want to get a brush that is a 000 red sable. They're going to be pricey. You're going to be charged maybe about 10, 15 bucks. And then you want to keep that brush separate. Don't use it for anything else except retouching. So this is the school's brushes, and they're used for all sorts of things. But I'll pick one here that looks pretty good. Well, here's one that's got a pretty good point on it. So here I'll hold this up just to show you what a pretty good point looks like here. Today we're going to use neutral black number 3, and what I've done is I've simply have poured a little bit into this dish, and I let it dry overnight. So now it's dry, and I can treat it like a watercolor. So what I'll be doing is wetting my brush. So now I have my brush. I've got my spot tone. Now in this photograph, it has generous borders all around it. We can almost use the borders to see how close we're going to match this tonality. Now let me point out that for retouching, and everybody retouches. Ansel Adams would retouch, but then when he got enough money, he hired somebody to retouch for him because it's kind of exacting, it takes time. I had a former student who for a while was working in our area, and for artists, photographers, both color and black and white, she was a professional retoucher, so she got her weekend employment that way, retouching. So for the old traditional prints such as black and white and color, there's always a need for retouchers. Anyway, so I'm going to advise anyone to, if they're going to retouch, to start with the blacks. Start with the dark colors because that's real easy to match. It's only when you start getting into the whites in these areas or people's faces or skies that retouching becomes harder. One reason it becomes harder is most beginners use too much spot tone on their brush. It's too dark, and so it's kind of like when they make prints. Their aperture is too big, the time is too long, and so they in their test strip or their prints, they tend to go dark really fast. And what you need to do in printing, of course, is stop the lens down to a small aperture. Use time so that your printing times are anywhere from 12 seconds to like 20 seconds or 30 seconds around in there. Not 2 seconds. That's you don't have any control. So what it's better to do is build up the density with your retouching. So let's take a plunge, and first thing I'll do is I'll get out my little shot glass, which is multi-purposed. I can take that little shot glass and we can just put a little spot tone, a little water on it, and there is a little photo flow mixed with this, and I'll just take a little dab of this spot tone, and I'll kind of bring it over here to see what it looks like here. See, it's kind of light and gray. Now let's see what it looks like when we put it on the paper. You see what it looks like? See, there's a lid. It's kind of light, and it will darken a little bit when you put it on. So your brush doesn't hold too much, and sometimes I play it out on the paper so that it gets a little bit lighter. And then I'm trying to match now this area right in here. So you see there's 2 areas here. So I can try hazarding a little dot. I'll just put a little dot in there. And again, we're talking about camouflaging. And just a little bit to make it kind of disappear from the eye. I think that's good. That's pretty good, yeah. Again, it's camouflaging. If I get in close with a little magnifying glass, you'll see it. But just standing back, it just becomes, disappear. So how about this guy right over here? Let me put a little more water on my brush, and again, kind of use the border here. Oh, a little more water, a little more spot tone. Now you can see why it takes time to do. These borders come in handy. All right, so then we'll just put a little drop right there. Deet. If you make little noises, deet, deet, helps. Now if you got too much water on your brush, what happens is you get a little bead of water. So then you gotta go back. It's better to build up the density. That's not bad, I can see it a little bit. I'll show you another little gadget that sometimes I use, especially at home. That's good. That's camouflaged. I'll show you my little gadget that I use, especially if you've got little areas of your print. I use these little guys. These are jewelers use these for it, and just put it on your head like this, and it's also great around Halloween for going out and costumes, stuff like that. So this dye sinks in. Once it sinks in, it becomes part of the image. I use distilled water so that in time, the water, if you're using crummy water, then it might change the color over time. It's much better not to retouch if you're going to take a white speck and make it black, and then it really stands out. It's no good. So practice. Use old prints to practice on, and then once you've got it, then you're ready for the next part of your presentation, either dry mounting or we'll cut a mat. So here, these jeweler glasses are great for getting in close, being able to see those little spots on your photograph. And then, of course, come either Mardi Gras or Halloween, you can also put on this little thing with other feathers and things like that and go out to parties.